Welcome back to Retro Adventures, and also welcome to Fort Pierre, South Dakota. Yes, I did say that correctly. It is pronounced by the locals Pierre, not Pierre as I learned it as a child. But this is day 4 of my journeys following the Lewis and Clark Trail, and today I am at Fisher Park Point. And I'll give you a little information about what happened here. This is the site where the Corps of Discovery ran into a little bit of difficulty. Up to this point, their meetings with the Native Americans had gone very smoothly, but when they met with the Teton Slough, it didn't go as well. They called this the Bad River because of the confrontation that they had. Apparently there were some language barriers, and the Teton Sioux, they were very fierce warriors, and at one point they took over the keelboat, and only because their chief, Black Buffalo, diffused the situation, and because the Corps of Engineers had some superior firearms, did this confrontation cease. As I showed you yesterday with the dam at Gavin's Point, the Missouri River from here on out is a series of lakes. It's been tamed since the wild days of Lewis and Clark, but it is a very beautiful morning, very serene. There's some fishermen out there. There's a swan out there on that lake. But you still get a sense of the openness and the territory that the Lewis and Clark expedition had when they got to this place. Now, if you remember back to my St. Charles video, the Corps of Discovery added 2 French-Canadian descendants to their crew, Francois Labiche and Pierre Crousset. One of the reasons they added them because they had told them that they could act as interpreters. They could speak to the Native Americans. Well, it didn't go so well right here. They weren't able to talk to them at all. And in fact, one of the reasons they added later on Sacagawea and Toussaint Charbonneau to the crew a few miles to the north. This little plaque tells us that Lewis and Clark Corps of Discovery stopped here for 4 days with their confrontation with the Teton Sioux. This is called Fort Volunteer. Gives you a little bit of information about Fort Pierre. It's a pretty neat little place, very historical. It said that this town is the oldest town continuously running anyway in South Dakota. So I'm here at the South Dakota State Capitol building. Here is a fun trivia question. If you know the answer, put it in the comments. How many places did Lewis and Clark either pass through or close by that became state capitals? A couple of interesting facts. This state capital is the second smallest state capital in the United States. I believe at Montpelier, that is the smallest. Also, it's one of only 4 state capital cities that does not have an interstate that runs to it or through it. So I'm here inside the state capital of South Dakota. I haven't really found anything Lewis and Clark related, but it's a very beautiful capital. If you have a chance as you're passing through here on your Lewis and Clark journeys, come on in. There is one mural I found right here depicting a meeting between appears to be a frontiersman and a Native American. Not sure that's anything to do with Lewis and Clark, but it is a very nice mural. An interesting thing that South Dakota does for the Lewis and Clark route, if you're driving on the highway on the east side, you are driving on Highway 1804, and if you're driving on the west side of the Missouri River, you're on Highway 1806. And I understand that North Dakota continues this as you drive even further north. I thought that was kind of neat and interesting. I wish the other states would do that. Here we have another plaque explaining the tenseness that the Lewis and Clark expedition felt during its 3 days in this area. Here we have the former Missouri River. I call it former Missouri River because here's another in a series of dams. Here's the dam right here, and in the distance you see the lake. Not sure of the pronunciation. O-E-H-E, Oahe. You can comment on exactly how it is pronounced. This is just another beautiful day. I'm in northern South Dakota at the Sakakawea Monument that you just saw, and here's some information about her place in history. We are very close to the lake here. Just a few hundred feet from the Sakakawea Monument is this Sitting Bull Monument, and South Dakota says is the last resting place for Sitting Bull, although North Dakota disputes that. Of course, Sitting Bull has no connection whatsoever to the Lewis and Clark expedition, other than the fact that this resting place is close to where the Missouri River ran, so they would have floated by this area. Welcome to North Dakota. We are at Abraham Lincoln State Park, and behind me is what is called On a Slant Village. Now, when Lewis and Clark passed by this area, they noticed some ruins of Mandan Village, but the Mandans had moved on up the river about 60 miles. But behind me are some examples of the Mandan village. Let's turn around and take a look at them. As you know, by studying Lewis and Clark history, the area up here could be very brutal in the wintertime. They really had to hunker down. In fact, the Lewis and Clark expedition spent more time in what is now present-day North Dakota than any place that became a state. I believe about 121 days. Behind me is the North Dakota Cultural Visitors Center. I didn't do any filming in there because they don't have any Lewis and Clark exhibits, but it is just chock full of some great exhibits, great information. If you're here in Bismark, North Dakota, be sure and give them a visit. I actually got here about 4 o'clock. They close at 5, so I rushed right through it. As you can see, the wind and the weather is starting to pick up. And this is going to be it for today. I did a lot of traveling, didn't do that much taping. But if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and tomorrow I'm going to finish up my North Dakota adventures. So have a great day.